Welcome to the deep dive. We dive into complex stories, pulling out the insights that, well, that really count. Today, we're looking at something right at the crossroads of cutting-edge tech, global trade, and, yeah, national security.
Always a busy intersection.
It really is our focus, a pretty big development involving AI chip exports from the U.S. to China.
That's right.
We've been digging into the latest on this, and honestly, what we found gives a fascinating view of the decision itself, what it means for tech, and the wider geopolitical scene.
It definitely ripples outwards.
So our mission today is to help you see that bigger picture, unpack what's really going on.
Let's do it.
Okay, so let's unpack this then. The core news, just breaking, is that AMD Advanced Micro Devices,
Yep, AMD.
they have announced the U.S. government has approved their initial license applications.
Keyword there, initial,
Exactly, to export some of their AI processors to China,
which is, quite a development.
a really significant moment in the tech world, I'd say.
Definitely. And to really get the weight of it, you have to remember the context.
Go on.
Well, since 2022, the U.S. position has been pretty restrictive on high-performance AI chips going to China.
Right, those controls were put in place.
Exactly. And they were framed largely around preventing China from getting tech that could boost its military or, be used for weapons of mass destruction, that kind of thing.
National security, basically.
That was the explicit rationale.
Yeah.
So this AMD approval, it's not happening in a vacuum. It's set against that very deliberate, high-stakes policy backdrop.
Right, and that's where it gets really interesting and maybe a bit surgical.
How so?
Well, the specific words used, initial applications, and for some processors, it screams, this is not a U-turn.
Yeah, not opening the floodgates.
Not at all. It feels very calibrated, very specific.
Targeted, perhaps.
Targeted, yeah. Now, for AMD, the immediate upside is pretty clear, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. Access to China's market.
Which is described as lucrative. And when we say lucrative for a chip maker like AMD, what are we talking about?
Well, think about the sheer scale. There's huge demand in China for advanced AI components. Maybe not always for the absolute bleeding-edge AI training supercomputers the restrictions were focused on, but certainly for things like cloud computing, data centers.
Commercial AI applications.
Exactly. Commercial AI inferencing, sophisticated stuff. That all translates into serious revenue potential for a company like AMD.
Makes sense.
But what's really fascinating here, I think, is the balancing act. The U.S. government seems to be trying to thread a needle.
What do you mean?
Well, this approval gives AMD that foothold in a really important market, while, according to the sources, still sticking to the national security regulations.
So it's not a simple yes or no.
Not at all. It's just some kind of filtering process, maybe allowing chips that are good for commercial AI but don't quite meet the threshold for, say, strategic military use.
Okay, but is that distinction actually enforceable on the ground?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? It really highlights that tension. You want to support your own companies competing globally.
Sure. Economic interests.
But you also need to protect strategic interests. Trying to do both is, well, it's incredibly difficult. A tightrope walk.
Yeah, definitely sounds like it.
And if we try to connect this to the bigger picture, this kind of limited approval, it makes you wonder.
What does it signal for the future?
Right. Is this a hint of a shift? Maybe a more nuanced approach to tech controls coming? Sort of feeling things out.
Or maybe just getting more precise.
Or just getting much more granular about managing technology flow. Saying, okay, this type of chip is fine for this kind of application, but that one isn't, without undermining the main strategic goals.
Like finding a very narrow middle ground in the tech rivalry.
It could be an attempt to explore that, yeah. Is there room for some trade in specific areas?
So let's bring it back to the listener. What does this all mean for you? Why track these fairly technical chip export details?
Well, understanding these nuances is actually pretty crucial if you follow global tech trends or economic policy or even just international relations. Because decisions like this, they directly affect which advanced technologies are available where. They reshape the competitive playing field for giants like AMD, NVIDIA, Intel.
Right, the big players.
And ultimately, they influence the direction of innovation itself across so many industries.
It really shows how specific the control over tech transfer has become, down to individual processor capabilities.
Exactly. It's not broad strokes anymore.
So just to recap that point, This approval gives AMD specific, somewhat limited access to the Chinese market, all supposedly within that existing national security framework.
Precisely.
Okay. So, summing up then.
I think the key takeaway is that this AMD news really shows that careful negotiation happening between, on one hand, the very real economic opportunity for a major U.S. tech firm,
The business side.
and on the other, those critical strategic national security concerns in this really high-stakes world of AI.
It's a clear example of geopolitics crashing right into cutting-edge industry.
Absolutely. And it shows a potential path, maybe for some limited engagement, even amidst broader competition.
Okay. And as we wrap up this deep dive, let's leave everyone with something to think about. A provocative thought, perhaps.
Go for it.
Given that this is just an initial approval,
Yeah.
and only for some chips, what could the long-term implications be for the whole AI chip market? Does this crack open the door? Will we see more of these limited, very specific approvals? Kind of like turning a faucet just a little, not opening the floodgates?
Or is it just a one-off?
Or is it an isolated case, an exception that really just proves the rule of ongoing tech competition on that global stage?
It's definitely something to watch. Where does it go from here?
Something to ponder, for sure, as these technologies just keep racing ahead.